Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ala inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and sisters who are listening, firstly, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are here to discuss one great individual who had passed away about 2 years from now, and he was from this masjid, from your local masjid, and you are very, very lucky people. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't send people like that in the world, except that He has very great favor to send people like this. And many of us, like the Imam said beforehand, many of us haven't really benefited as we should have. Even myself, I even think now, I should have spent more time with him and I should have got more out of him. And it's only when somebody leaves the earth you think, Ya Allah, what a loss. And to understand these people, you have to really get close to them. And even I didn't know what Allah Azza wa Jal had given me as having the companionship of such an individual. Because I'm saying to you, I'm not making this up, I'm not exaggerating. Allah Azza wa Jal has, I really think, one of the biggest walis of Allah Azza wa Jal in recent times to be in Britain was, our Shaykh, our Ustaadji, Maulana Fazul Rahim. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless his soul. May Allah Azza wa Jal, give him the highest abode in Illiyin. You don't have to be stingy. You can say Ameen loudly, because one day somebody will make dua for you as well like this. May Allah Azza wa Jal have a lot of mercy on Ustaadji Maulana Fazul Rahim. May Allah have a lot of mercy on him. Say Ameen. May Allah raise his status in the dunya and the akhirah. May Allah give him the highest abode in Illiyin. Ameen. And may Allah Azza wa Jal resurrect him amongst the prophets, the Siddiqeen, the Shuhada, the Salihin on the Day of Judgment. And may Allah Azza wa Jal take him with those straight to Jannah when they go to Jannah. Ameen. And may Allah Azza wa Jal give him Jannatul Firdaus. Now, who was this individual? And I'm not here to tell you about his whole life, because I don't know about his whole life. Some people said to me, am I going to speak about his whole life? No. I spent 4 close years with him. And those years were between 1993 to about 1997. Okay? 4 close years I spent with him. And after that, I had many years where we wrote letters to each other. I was on the phone to him. I came and visited Oldham several times, and I spent time with him. And a lot of it was, after the 4 close years with him, a lot of it was over the phone and through letters and other means. And of course, alhamdulillah, I have to say later on as well, I have had the opportunity that Ustaadji or Maulana Fazul Rahim, we used to call him Maulana Fazul Rahim, and you call him Ustaadji, wonderful names. Rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him. He later on even performed my nikah, so I had that opportunity. The whole process of even finding who I wanted to find and having the nikah done, and even after that, and forget, I'll tell you a lot about Ustaadji. Today, obviously, Ustaadji is not here, and he used to hate anyone who would praise him. That's one great thing about it. If you ever praised him in front of his face, his face would change. He never liked people to praise him. And if he found out that you're going to start talking big about him behind his back, he would not give you the same closeness that he will give others. Because he didn't want you to advertise him. And I had to be very careful throughout his life. Okay, and you probably noticed I've mentioned him a couple of times in my bayans here and there. Yes, but I've never actually given a bayan like this. I've never actually spoken about him and what I know of him, never given a lecture like this. Why? Because I knew that if the moment he finds out, if he was alive, rahimahullah, if he finds out, then it's going to hurt him to know that I have exposed, whatever he did for Allah Azza wa Jall's sake. Because he was not only a scholar of the deen. Now you can find many scholars of the deen. Ulama, alim. Alim is a scholar of the deen. Ulama are scholars of the deen. You'll find many of them. But to find a scholar of the deen who is amil, who practices what he knows, is rare. And what's even rare than that is to find a scholar who's practicing the religion and who is mukhlis, who has ikhlas and sincerity at the same time. That is even rare. And what is even rare is to find an individual like that who's there to give everything he can to you if you're there to take what he's offering to you. And that's how Ustaadji was. That's how Maulana Fazul Rahim, rahimahullah, that's how he was. So let me tell you how I came across him, because I'm not going to tell you about his whole life. Okay? There are many people who can tell you about his whole life, but I can't say that. So I was an individual who went to madrasa first at the age of 14. I went to Dewsbury and I spent 4 years there. I did my hifz there. Before that, let me tell you before that, so that you can get an understanding of when I came to Maulana Fazul Rahim, rahimahullah, when I came to him, what was my understanding? Okay, my understanding of the religion. I was a born Muslim, some people even question me sometimes. They say, is he Shia? Hasan Ali, the name Hasan Ali, is he Shia? Because Hasan and Ali, right? I'm not a Shia, I'm a Sunni, alhamdulillah, born a Sunni. So what happened is, my whole early learning of Islam was through my father, rahimahullah. And my father was not an alim, he was not a scholar of the deen. Whatever he knew, he taught us in the house. And it was from my mother. My mother probably knew quite a lot more than my father in some regards. And she used to tell me whatever stories it is that she knew from her mother, from her father, because my granddad, rahimahullah, he was a very pious man and he was a knowledgeable person, hafiz of the Quran as well. So my mother used to give me a lot of the information of the deen, and my father gave it, and that's all I had. And then later on, I went to a local masjid I was born and brought up in Walsall, next to in Birmingham. And whatever I learned from my local maktab, my local masjid, that's all I knew. When I went to Dewsbury at the age of 14, I had to check everything that I had learned up till then, because now this is a real place of learning. So everything my mother told me, my father told me, my ustads told me before that, everything had to be rechecked again. So I kind of went through, one of those, sometimes when you go and you reboot your whole programming, yeah, and you kind of, override the information. So I rewrote a lot of the stuff that I learned beforehand. Okay, that was in Dewsbury. I did my hifz there, I memorized the Quran there, and then after that I did some Arabic studies. And so I went there in 1989 to Dewsbury. 1993, I came to Nottingham. Now this is where I meet Ustaadji, this is where I meet Maulana Fazul Rahim. So I've given you a quick fast track of where I came from, and I'm going to give you bits more, because you won't understand how Ustaadji came across to me, rahimahullah, if you don't understand where I came from. Okay? Because I was, those of them who know me from madrasa days, I wasn't your best student, if you know what I'm trying to say, like, yeah? I was one of those cheeky students that would get up to whatever he could get up to. And I was very, very fortunate that I came across Maulana Fazul Rahim, rahimullah. Why? Because in Dewsbury where I studied, they had the knowledge there, don't get me wrong, they had the knowledge there. But what would happen is you leave the classroom, and after you leave the classroom, you're in the boarding section. And when you're in the boarding section, the only people that are supervising you are the supervisors. There's probably 2 supervisors on site. You got the whole place to yourself from about 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're free as students, all the way to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock we had to come downstairs, all of us had to read together what we call takrar. It's like muraja, or you go over revision of what you're doing, or you prepare for the next day's lesson. So we used to do that till 8 o'clock. So that's the time when some teachers are there. After that, after 8 o'clock, you're free again. You go to your quarters, no one's there. Okay, it's just you and the students, and you have supervisors that might be there now and again, and 11 o'clock bedtime, the supervisor will come out, get everyone to bed, and that's it, okay? Now this dynamic completely changed in Nottingham. So Nottingham, where in Nottingham? Well, this was in Flintham, okay? A46, Newark, near Newark, from about 6 miles near Newark, there was an RAF camp, that ex-RAF camp site that had 120 rooms, okay? This place was derelict. It had, it was mashed up. No one was using it for years and years. Okay? And some of you might have even heard that some jinn story, whatever I've shared with you from this place here. You're laughing here. So this was the place. Now, there was an Ustad, Maulana Kamal, Rahimahullah. Okay? Say Rahimahullah. May Allah bless him as well. Honestly, every day I make dua, and I'm not joking here. Every day I try my best to make dua for, including when I make because both my parents have passed away. So I make dua for them, fine. My father-in-law has passed away, I'll include him. But without forgetting the name, every day I make dua for Ustaadji by name, and every day I make dua for Maulana Kamal Rahimahullah. Right. Why? Because Maulana Kamal Rahimahullah, he was the one who started the Nottingham Madrasa. And he was at Dewsbury first, he was the Imam there. A lot of people might know him. He was the, you could say he was the best, I reckon one of the best teachers in the whole of the UK in Nahu and Sarf. No one, I don't think anyone would ever compete with Maulana Kamal Rahimahullah in Nahu and Sarf, in grammar, the grammar and morphology. No one would compete with him. And his Arabic was like the Arabs. I mean, the Arab used to love him. Now he opened this place. He got this derelict place, and at that time when we went there was only 25 students. Okay, so when I joined, there was about 25 students. First they started in Nottingham in Madani Masjid, and then after that they moved over to this derelict place. And it was a very sort of a tattered place, a place where there was no heating. We had to have small sort of electric heaters, fan heaters. The place was freezing. You could put the heaters on all day, and these walls, subhanAllah, this building, it was bomb-proof. This building was RAF, you can imagine, right? It was bomb-proof. There was, one wall was 8 bricks. It was 2 bricks this way, 2 bricks that way, 2 bricks this way, and 2 bricks that way. How do we know? We had to drill through this, brother. Not me personally, yeah? They had to drill through this. When you want to make a wall, yeah? It was crazy. 8 bricks. And what happened is, when they made 2 bricks, in between there's a gap. So even if a bomb fell, and it blew 4 bricks away, it wouldn't be able to shatter the other 4 bricks of the inner part. So this was a humongous sort of building. It had 3 massive halls. You had a large sort of dining kitchen area. It had 10.6 acres of land around it. And 10.6 acres of land was all like, it was like a woody area. It was all, to our fields, trees, and it was a lot of wildlife that was around there. A beautiful, serene place, middle of nowhere. The closest place, when we had to go to town, closest place to go to Nottingham town was 15 miles away. Okay, closest shop was probably about 6 miles away to Newark. So it was in the middle of nowhere. But this was the beauty of it. Where the dynamic changed is, in Dewsbury where I was, when I finished, when we finished our studies, we were to ourselves. There was only supervisors looking after you. Here, there was a blessing. The blessing was, Maulana Kamal Sahib Rahimahullah, Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib Rahimahullah, Shaykh Naeem, who's also in Oxford, who was there at the time, may Allah bless him as well. He's in Oxford still right now. All these teachers, Maulana Abdul Haq Sahib Rahimahullah later on, all of them stayed on site. So Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib Rahimahullah, he had his own room. And his room was on the east wing block, upstairs. The furthest room was his room. A beautiful small room. I would say his room was probably, it's a very small room. I'm talking probably about, 6 foot by 6 foot, something like that, right? Not more than that. 6 foot by 6 foot was his room, and he had, in the corner, he had his mattress, all right? On one corner, he had his mattress. As soon as you walked in the room, on the left-hand side was his mattress, on the far side was his microwave oven, and on this side was all his books, and he had a window there, and a musalla on the ground, and that's it. Okay, a very simple sort of room. Now, because the ustads were all on site, we had the opportunity to go and meet them and spend time with them. This was the brilliance of this. Because not many madrasas you will find that all your ustads, almost all your ustads are living on site. So you can go to them, go to this teacher, go to that teacher, you can benefit from them. And this is where I got to benefit from Ustaadji, rahimahullah, because I came to Nottingham And I just came in straight from Dewsbury. I thought, okay, new madrasa, I'm coming in here, I'm just going to study a few years, blah, blah, finish my course. And then somebody told me, they said, amongst the teachers, we've got a wali of Allah. Now, if you've heard of a wali of Allah, you would know what a wali of Allah is. Now, some of you, again, I'm saying this for the sake of the camera, because this is going to go worldwide, yeah? Some people, they find this all very dodgy, brother. Yeah, very dodgy, yeah? Now, yes, there are many dodgy Pir Sahibs. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, there are many dodgy Pir Sahib, there are many dodgy people who are faking it out there. Yes, yes, yes. There are people who will rip you for your money. There are people who just want to take something out of your pocket. There are people who will try and get the name and fame. But you know what? If you have not met someone like Ustaadji Rahimahullah, you will not know what a true wali is. If you have not, because I really didn't know where I landed. Honestly, I didn't know, because I came to the madrasa. And what happened is they said there's a wali of Allah. Now, all our lives, most people, what they think of is Pir Sahib means that, if there's a wali or someone who's like what a wali is someone who's very close to Allah Azza wa Jal. That's what it means, okay? So if someone's close to Allah Azza wa Jal, you've got all these stories that go around, oh my God, they've got a turban this big, they've got a stick that big, they've got a frown on their face, and, all they're doing all day is, they're saying a few words and everyone's scared of them, and they're going, it gets all this superstitious stuff out of them. No, that's not what it is. Please erase everything you know about this whole Pir system and everything. Listen to who Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib was, and then open the doors of understanding who a true wali of Allah is. Okay? Because I didn't know any of this. I knew when I was young, there was something called Pirs, whatever, and after that, finished. I came here. So when I came to Nottingham, I heard there's a wali of Allah here. I thought, okay, let me go and meet him. So, it's my first salah, I think it was Dhuhr salah. After salah, I said to the colleagues, I said to them, where's Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib? They said, he was just here. I said, where? So anyway, I said, okay, I'll wait for him, because he's gone to his room. I'm not going to go to his room and disturb him. So I came all the way back, I played around, whatever it was. And then Asr time came. Asr time, I prayed everything, and I'm waiting. Where's Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib? Rahimahullah. Wait, where is he? So I'm excited. I'm waiting outside, and everyone's sort of gone. And I said to colleagues, where's Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib? They said, he just went by. I said, who, man? Who? Because I'm expecting, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm expecting a big, sort of turban. I'm expecting some gigantic person. I'm expecting someone who, when he walks, everyone just stands by, I'm expecting all these things, because that's what you get used to when a big Pir or when some wali of Allah, when someone comes by, that's what you normally see. And they said, didn't you see him? I said, no. They said, it's that, there was that person, gentleman, who had a nice sort of overcoat, right? Half coat that he was wearing, and he had white beard. And I said, I saw a gentleman with white beard. Okay, fine, I'll catch him Maghrib time, right? So Maghrib came, and now I'm looking for an individual with white beard, and suddenly my eyes fell on him, okay, after Maghrib. And when I met him, I thought, what? Is this who they're talking about? Because if you met Ustaadji, he was one of the simplest people you could find. He was like your most ordinary person. He did not have any hoo-ha to him. None of this, like he's going to have 20 people behind him walking on the entourage. None of that. He was approachable by anyone. You saw your local musalli in the masjid. That's how Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib looked like. Okay? So how do you look like? I mean, you guys know, but for the sake of the audience. Okay. By the way, how many of you have met Ustaadji? Put your hands up. How many of you didn't meet him? Put your hands up. Okay, there's a few people who never met him, so I'll explain to you. He wasn't too tall. I'd say about 5'6" or something, 5'5", 5'6". That's how tall he was, which is good average height. He had a very nice white complexion. He was from Swat, from Pakistan, from MWFP of Pakistan, and the people from that region, they have very fair skin, and some of them have very bright eyes as well. And Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib Rahimullah, he had lovely grey eyes. Okay? And he had about 6, I think, lines on his forehead. Okay? He had a nice broad forehead with about good 5, 6 lines going across there, which is really a sign of a thinker. Now you might say to me, well, where do I know this from? I actually learned this from Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib Rahimullah. Because he actually went through, the things he taught me, I never learned from anybody else. Okay? He went through with me at one point, he went through all the human features. He says, someone has a nose like this, it means they're like this. Someone has teeth like this, it means like that. Someone has a neck like this, they're like this. Someone has a hand like this, like this. Someone walks like this, like this. Subhanallah al-Azim. And he was, I mean, this stuff, I guess, how many of you here in Pitt Street had the opportunity of hearing that from him? Put your hands up. 3 people. I had close one-to-one, alhamdulillah. I didn't know where I landed, honestly. I didn't know. The amount I took off him in these 4 years, I would say, I'm very, very fortunate. Walillahi alhamd. Many of you sitting here haven't been able to do that while staying with him in Oldham. Because what happened is, I got him trapped. Allah trapped him in the building in Nottingham. He couldn't go anywhere else, right? And Allah put me in the building. There's no town center nearby, to go to. So I was trapped, he was trapped, and Allah made the opportunity for me to spend time with him. So he was a lovely, he had a lovely nose with a round sort of end at the end, but he had a wedge in his nose. I've never seen anyone like that after him. But a lovely wedge on his nose. And he had a beard, I'd say, about like mine at this moment. And it was all sort of white. He kept himself very well. Okay, he was very neat and tidy. He always presented himself very nicely. And he had the kind of hat he used to love wearing is the hat that you would find in the northwest of sort of Pakistan kind of region, which is a woolly sort of type of hat with the part flat at the top. And he used to, a lot of the times he used to wear the kurta, the kameez and so on, up to his knees, below his knees. And he would wear a half coat a lot of the times. And he was, when he used to, Subhanallah al-Azim, when he used to smile, or when he used to meet people, he used to really cheer you up. Now, the one thing about him, I have to say, Subhanallah al-Azim, was that some of the things Allah gave him, I never realized this, but later on I found out that I've only met one more person with this quality, nobody else in the world. Okay? Some of the qualities Allah gave Ustaadji, I haven't met in all my travels, except for one other person. That's my Shaykh in Bangladesh, Mufti Rashid Rahman. What's that quality I'm talking about? You know the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to be loved by everybody. You hear like Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, oh, he's the closest to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu says, he's the closest to him. Umar radiallahu anhu feels he's the closest to him. Mu'adh radiallahu anhu feels he's the closest to him. Sayyidina Jubair radiallahu anhu feels he's close to him. Everyone has got a story of how they are close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everyone thinks that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam likes them uniquely some way that he doesn't like somebody else. Like he loves everybody. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam loves everybody. But he loves someone specially that he doesn't give that special love to anybody else. So for example, he was the closest and the most special to him in some special way. And we all had our stories. When we got together in the Doma, we used to talk to each other and we used to have stories. Like Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib did this for me. And somebody else would say, oh, Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib, he did that for me. Somebody else would say, Maulana Fazul Rahim did this for me. And everyone had a special love from Ustaadji, Rahimullah, special love. Now, that is a sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will not find in many people in the world. I've only met another one person in my life. I'm telling you, that's my Ustad, my Shaykh, Mufti Rashid Rahman Farooq in Bangladesh, with this quality that all the people around them have got stories that are close to him. Let me tell you another one. The sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when you meet him, he makes you feel very positive and makes you feel happy and cheerful, no matter what is going in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you met Ustaadji rahimullah, doesn't matter who you were, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what bad day Maulana is having, when you met him, he made you feel nice. He made you feel nice. And he not only made you feel nice, this was the normal thing. For 4 years, every single day when I used to go and meet him, this was the normal case. So I'd go to his room and knock on his door. And he would say, straight away he would say, come in. Okay, so you walk inside. Maulana Fazul Rahim, rahimahullah, this is a Shaykhul Hadith. He's teaching Hadith of Bukhari and Tirmidhi in that same building. He's one of the top teachers of the place. His knowledge is like an ocean. His way of, his character is something that everybody would love. And this is, he's 70 years old. And this is what he does. To me, as a young individual, I was 18 years old. When I joined his khidmah, I was 18 years old. When I would come to him, he would get up from his place in the room. He would stand up, come to the door. When opening the door, he would allow me to come inside, and he would greet me and he would embrace me. And when he would embrace me, first is his cheerful face. He would light up his whole face when I used to come to him. And I'm saying every day for 4 years, no difference, okay? He would say, first thing he would say, he would say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And then sometimes he would say, wa maghfiratu. Some of you who know, he'll say, wa maghfiratu. And that's also in a narration as well, to say, wa maghfiratu. May Allah give you His forgiveness as well. So when he would say that, he would grab hold of me and say, Hasanun walam yara mithlahu al-aynani. This was the phrase he made for me. Every person in the madrasa had, almost every person who was close to him had a different phrase, different way he would approach them. So my one was, Hasanun walam yara mithlahu al-aynani. Hasan, the one that no two eyes have ever seen the likes of. Okay? This was a phrase from a poem, somewhere, some poem. He used to say that poem every time he used to meet me. His face very cheerful, his teeth are beaming with delight on seeing me, and then he would grab hold of me, and then he would give me a good squeeze, tight squeeze. And then he would do this. He would not let go of me until he gave me 4 du'as. And every time he would try and change his different du'as when he met me. Okay? So now he's holding on to me. Can you imagine? He's holding on to me. He's squeezing me tight. At the same time, he's saying, may Allah give my Hasan ilm and knowledge. May Allah give my Hasan good practice. May Allah make him shine over the world. May Allah make him a great person. And after he would give me 4 du'as, then he would release me, and he would then say, Beto, sit down, right? Now, if you wanted to get up to, no, Hazrat, please, I want to sort of go and I want to get something for you. No. He would say, Beto, sit down. So I sit down. What he would do, he would now speak to me nicely. You know, with all the lovely, as he's moving around the room, 6 foot by 6 foot room, not too big. He's moving around the room and he's trying to get tea ready. So he's got a whole tea place there. He makes tea, warms it up in the microwave. He's making 2 cups. As he's making the 2 cups, he's still talking to me. Mera Hasan kaise ho? My Hasan, how are you? Mera Hasan, khairiyat se. My Hasan, are you okay? Mera Hasan, Mosam bada achha hai. He would say that the weather is very good. And he'll speak, keep me entertained as he's making 2 cups of tea. He would not allow me to get up and touch the cups of tea. He would make them, 70-year-old man, he makes 2 cups of tea. He lays the dastakhan or the little mat in front of me. He puts 1 cup in front of me. He puts 1 cup in front of himself. He sits down, and then as he takes the cup of tea to his mouth, he says, Ab batao mere pyare Hasan, main aapki khidmat kya kar sakta hoon? Now tell me, my beloved Hasan, what service can I be of you? Now you might feel, okay, this is a man, Rahimullah, doing it one day. This was not one day. This was almost every time I would go and see him, this was his way of greeting me. So I would say to him, Maulana, I've got two questions. Do sawal hai. He would say, Do nahi, 10 pucho. Don't ask me 2 questions, ask me 10. Now when I say, he says to me, ask me 10, I'm not making this up. I've never met a ustad in my life. I've had several. I've probably had about 40, 50 ustads. By the time from my beginning till the end, I've probably had about 40, 50 teachers that have taught me different lessons, different places, okay? I've never met in my life a person who was so open for you to ask questions. And not only that, you could ask the silliest question ever on the earth and he would still smile and give you an answer. He never made you feel like, you know, what kind of question was that? Never. You know how many questions I ended up going to him with? I had an A4 pad, okay, a lined A4 pad. And during 24 hours, I started to think about my questions. And you know what I said to you? When I went to Dewsbury, I erased my knowledge that my mother and my father, my ustads before gave to me, because I didn't know what was right and what was wrong. Okay? Some of the things they taught me, alhamdulillah, was brilliant. But some of the things they taught me was not true things. So in Dewsbury, I erased it and I got it all right. And then when I met Maulana Fazul Rahim, when I saw his level of knowledge, I put everything. So my mother's knowledge, my dad's knowledge, my Ustad's knowledge, my whole of Dewsbury 4 years knowledge, everything they taught me all together. And I started to take you through the process of Maulana Fazul Rahim's knowledge. And I started to erase and chop and churn whatever I could. All right. And the thing was, that A4 pad, I don't know how many pads I finished. Every day in 24 hours, I would write as many questions I could think of. I could even remember till today, I've got some of this at home. 28 questions on one side of A4 paper, 28 questions, right? I would write them all down, 24 hours. My time is again there, 4 o'clock, when all the kids used to go and play. This was the fortune Allah Azza wa Jalla gave me. The other children used to love playing football. And they used to love roaming around, playing in the acres of land and all that. I wasn't into football. Even till today, I'm not into football, and I say Alhamdulillah. Yeah? Alhamdulillah. If you like football, Alhamdulillah. If you don't like it like me, Alhamdulillah. Okay, so let's not have a war about it. So what happened is, they used to play football and they used to play other games, cricket, sometimes other things, and I used to just go to Ustaadji. And I used to spend the full 2 hours from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock full, taking every benefit I could from him. And those questions of the whole A4 paper, I used to go and sit with him, and I used to say, Hazrat, I said, I got some questions. He goes, Or pucho, ask me more, ask me more, ask me more. Whole 2 hours gone. Every other day, every day if I could, unless some mehman came, sometimes some guests came. When the guests came, then I stopped, and he gave the time to the guests. When the guests went, then we carried on, and we carried on talking. And you know what? He gave me time like no other student in the madrasa. And these are not my words. He said it himself. By the end of the 4 years, the 3rd year and the 4th year, he said to me, he said, Hassan, he said, I've given you more time than anybody else. But he said to me, there's a price to pay. Okay? Now, Ustaadji, mashallah, never in his life ever asked for money. I knew him for how long? He passed away in 2015, rahimahullah. I met him in 1993. So this is 22 years I knew him. In 22 years, not one day ever he asked me for something. That's a wali of Allah. That's a real wali of Allah. All those people listen to this. If you want to go back and check your Pir Sahibs and everything else, you want to go and see what this individual was, rahimahullah, because this was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Have you ever seen in any hadith that the Prophet ﷺ is asking Sahaba, give me this? Have you ever read a hadith like that? No. If he ever took something, he borrowed it. In the whole of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, if he needed money, if the Prophet ﷺ needed money, he borrowed something. Sometimes he borrowed from Jewish people, but he gave it back. Every penny he owed to someone before his death, he paid it all back. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Nowhere in any hadith you will find that he taught the Sahaba, he did favors for the Sahaba, and he expected the Sahaba to do something for him. Never. And this sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, in all the awliya of Allah in the world, I know there are plenty of wonderful awliya across the world, I'm not putting anybody down. But to meet someone like this, 22 years I knew him, never ever asked me for a penny, never asked me for a service. The only thing he asked me was this. 4 years he gave me, and he kept on saying this throughout the end of his 4th year. He said, Hassan, I've given you a lot of time. More than anyone else. Maine aapko bahut waqt diya. And then he said this. He said, Isliye diya mere Hassan, ke tumhe yahi waqt pure aalam ko dena hoga. He said, because you're going to have to one day give it to the whole of the world. Now some things he said, I never understood. I really never understood what he was actually saying, but today I understand. He said to me again and again, he said, Hassan, I've given you so much time, but there's going to be a time when a lot of people will come to you. Jab wo log aa jaye to kisi ko rad nahi karna. Don't turn anyone away. This is his wasiyah, his thing, will to me. Don't turn anyone away. He said, if people come to you for help, you have to help them just like I helped you. And he said, you will find a lot of people that will come to you. And I didn't understand, like today, alhamdulillah, I go all over the world and I lecture, but I never knew what he was talking about then. In fact, when he passed away, rahimahullah, I've got about 25 letters, 20 to 25 letters at home that are personal letters from him. He sent to me, and there are about 25 letters probably I sent to him This was after I finished the 4 years and I traveled on to Bangladesh. And even when I became Imam, I used to write to him and he used to write back to me. Because those days, there was no mobile phones or anything. So we had this beautiful way of writing a letter to him. He used to write back to me. And after his death, rahimahullah, I opened these letters, one by one. And honestly, I was crying. I was crying, just reading his letters. And and he had beautiful handwriting. Those of you who know him had wonderful handwriting. And in that, I found certain things, subhanAllah. I'm going to say to you one thing. He said in those letters, I never understood. In 1997, he wrote this. This is 20 years ago from today. He said to me, Hassan, you're going to go through this phase in your life later on. And I never opened that letter for 20 years. I opened it again after 20 years. Okay? First time I opened in 1997, I never understood what he was writing to me. But in 2015, I understood what he meant. He said, you're going to go through this phase in your life. And he said, don't worry about things. You're going to have these people and whatever after saying this. He said, don't worry about that. He said, and he wrote there in his letter, he said, Mujhe yaqeen hai. He said, Allah Ta'ala, he said, I have full conviction from Allah Azza wa Jal that He will, he said, through, he said, His knowledge. And I'm not bigging myself up here. Honestly, I'm only saying this out of the ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal. And I'm sure there are many of his students who are spreading knowledge across the world. But he said this to me. And he said this while he was alive in the mother's side. He said this later on. And in that letter, he said also, he said, through me, he said, my knowledge will spread through you. If you have heard my bayans, most of what I say is from Maulana Fazul Rahim sahab. So if you ever wonder, well, how do I speak like that and how the kind of stuff that I say in my bayans, most of the stuff that I say in my bayans is from Maulana Fazul Rahim sahab, because I spent 4 close years every day. I was in his room and I was just listening to him and I was question after question after question. And he never said no to a single question. Once I saw this dream in year 2001, he gave me 7 bottles of atar. 7 bottles of perfume he gave to me. And he had it on a shelf and he offered it to me and he said, this is yours. He gave it to me one by one. And I took it from him and then I woke up and then I phoned Maulana Fazul Rahim. This was another part of him. Subhanallah, his dream interpretation. Those of you who've gone to him for dream interpretation, he was spot on. Okay? So he said to me, this was in 2001. By this time, I hadn't even traveled the world to do my talks. He said, through me, he said, my knowledge will spread through you and it will go across the world. And he said one thing when I was in Nottingham with him, and I kept on saying, I said, Hazrat, please make dua. He said to me, sir, I made a lot of dua for you. I've given you a lot of dua. But he said, one condition you need, Hassan. He said, you need to be humble. He said, the more humble you become, the more Allah will lift you up. And this was one thing that Maulana Fazul Rahim sahab rahimahullah had. He was very, very, very extremely humble. To the extent, he said this to me. I was with him in the room and he said to me, he said, Hassan, he said, Agar ab is waqt koi ghulam abd habshi abhi aa jaye. He said, if right now, if an Ethiopian slave who is, who has no regards in the world, he's a slave, he's Ethiopian, he comes, walks in this door right now, and he takes hold of me, puts me on the ground, and he puts his sole of his foot on my neck, and he stamps on me on the ground. He said, "Me hilungani." He said, I will not even move. He said, if he keeps me like this for 2 hours on the ground, he said, I will not say anything to him. And why he was saying this to me was to make me understand the level of tawadu or humbleness that not only he had, but he was trying to pass on to me. And he kept on saying to me again and again. He said, the more humble you will become, the more Allah will lift you. And he said, this is the secret of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is, Man tawada'a lillahi rafa'ahu Allah. Whosoever is humble for the sake of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jalla will lift him. Now, Maulana Fazul Rahim, what I said to you was that I'm going to him every single day and I'm asking him questions. The more I ask him, the more happy he becomes. You know how happy he became? He started to mention to the other teachers, he said that I'm so happy that Hassan is coming to me and asking me questions. Now you don't get this normally. I'm telling you, you're going to ask somebody 28 questions a day. They'll be like, oh, he's here again, let me go. He's coming again. Maulana used to wait for me. And when I came, he used to be so happy. He used to, hug me again, make me sit down. and he used to answer the question. Now, you know when I say I ask the questions, you know what kind of questions? You're thinking, subhanallah, these are all religious questions. No. You ask religious questions, worldly questions, you ask questions of the ocean, questions of the land, you ask questions of the seen and the unseen, you ask questions of humans, of jinns, you ask questions of planet Earth and space and sky, everything he will answer. To the extent that sometimes I'm saying this, I'll just break it up to you because I know there's some young kids here, yeah? I could remember having with Maulana 2 to 3 hours a time a session on what a man should do on his first night when he gets married. You guys understand, or you're like, ugh. I don't know how many of you in Oldham are able to like had that opportunity. No, I had. I'm going to repeat it for you. Right down to the private things of a man and a wife, everything. Maulana is telling me full. Top, bottom, in, out, everything. I can't go further because there's young kids here. You don't understand, guys? Yeah, guys, do you understand or not? Everything. And Maulana would say, you do, and even the treatment of how one should treat their wife and what they should do, what they should not do, everything. You open up and he's a treasure. He'll bring it out. To the extent of space. I mean, subhanAllah, we're talking about space. Seriously. We're talking about planets. We're talking about وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. We're talking about the ayah ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. We're talking about which planet, Mirrikh, and he'll tell you this. And half the times I'm lost. I'm like, wow. He's talking about planets, he's talking about which planet is where, he's talking about the moon and the cycle of the moon, and he's talking about how they, and what times is really good, when Allah Azza wa Jal does certain things to the weather, and what time, then he'll move on to things like dua times, and what nights are special, and you're sitting there and you're just listening, and half the things are probably not going in my head because they're above me, but you talk about maths, he'll give you a good lesson on maths. Seriously, you might think, I don't know how many of you know them have ever, his sums in maths will baffle, and they baffled me, I couldn't even do some of the sums. He'll talk about that, talk about poetry, he'll go on and on and on. Hours talking about poetry, this poem, that poem. In fact, he told me once he was, he had many parts in his life when he used to teach different individuals. And once he was in a school in Pakistan, he used to go with his cycle, he told me, he used to go to the school, and he said to me, in that school there was a library of a good few hundred books. A library, normally in a school you have a library. You know what Maulana did? Maulana read every single book in the library. Maulana read every single book in the library, he told me this, and that's how he had a wealth of information. If he found something, he would read it. And most people wouldn't even know that there's this whole mine, inside him. The deeper you dig, the more you find. Talk about tafsir, he will tell you. Hadith, he will tell you. Talk about fiqh, he will tell you. Talk about normal life, he'll tell you. Sociology, he'll tell you. Psychology, he'll tell you. He was a very good hakim. Those of you who know, he used to deal with some leaves, herbs, and medicines. That's what a hakim is. And he would give people treatment through the herbs. Not only that, but he was wonderful in psychology. I'm not talking about a psychology degree here. But what I'm saying is nafsiyat. He used to call it ilmun nafsiyat. The knowledge of a person's psyche, he would be able to tell that all he needed to do is this. I don't know if you've ever seen him do this. He'll take the patient, he'll put his thumb onto the patient's vein. He'll put his thumb there, and he just take the heartbeat for a little while, and then he would tell the person what's wrong with the liver, what's wrong with the heart, or in the stomach, or something else, or brain, or whatever. He would say it like that. Allah gave that knowledge. How many of you in Oldham knew that? Put your hands up. Okay, few, mashallah. How many of you knew that he used to see jinns walking in the day? Put your hands up. There's a few, mashallah, good, right? When he came first to Nottingham, he didn't realize that he's given this information out, right? And the children, when they heard it, everyone was like, whoa, what was that? Because Maulana Fazul Rahim came in and he started to he just made a statement. He said, oh, I can see some jinns walking around here. He just made a statement. He didn't realize that these are children and they're all going to be coming for ghost stories later on, right? He never knew that. So he just said it, blurted it out, and then after that he had to stop. He said he saw Christian jinns walking, a lot of the Christians, and he even said the months they were coming in, the months they were not coming in, he said that. He said the month of Safar in the Arabic second month of the year, he said that's the month they used to come. And he would even explain that they came with a whole caravan and they would stay in another part of the wing of the whole of the madrasa. And he even saw their kids. He told me personally, he said they've got to come with a little kid and so on. And that kid sometimes comes on this side to our children on this side. He would explain this, but Maulana, he would not open up to anybody about this stuff. He would not open up. When he realized that children are talking about this, he stopped. He completely stopped. He never gave anything out. But those who got close to Maulana, then he would open up to you. It took me 9 months to open him. Because the first 9 months I was asking questions after questions after questions. He's giving the answers, but he's not opening his inside to me. He had a wealth of information. One of the greatest things he had was the firasa. Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib Rahimullah, Ustaadji Rahimullah, when he just saw you, he could read your mind. Put it this way, he read your mind straight. When he just saw you, he read your mind. When students found this out, some students were scared to even look him in the eye. I'm not making this up. Because this is what Maulana would do, okay? Imagine this, okay? Fajr time comes. Where's Maulana been all night? Doesn't matter what time Maulana goes to sleep, he's up 2 o'clock bang on without an alarm clock. 2 o'clock by the dot. You can stand in the corridor, Maulana will open his door and he will come down the corridor, he'll do his wudu, use his miswak, he'll use the toilet there, use miswak, do wudu and go straight to his room, and then he will start his tahajjud. Okay? From 2 o'clock till Fajr, he's doing tahajjud, dhikr of Allah, and he's just making dua to Allah for 3 hours non-stop. Okay? So I'll tell you a bit about that a bit more later on. But Maulana would come straight from his room near Fajr time. He would come all the way to the Masjid area. We had a hall there. We made it our Masjid area. And he would sit in the front line. So he's got his back towards everybody. He does not see who comes in the Masjid. When the Iqamah starts, he prays with everyone. When he's finished, he makes dua with everyone. And Maulana turns down like everyone else and he just goes straight towards his room. He has not turned around. Most people would have left or something, or half the people have left. He doesn't know how many people have actually come or not come. Maulana goes to his room, rahimahullah. Then he comes down at about 7:45. This is about 15 minutes before the lesson is starting at 8 o'clock. Sometimes 15 minutes before, sometimes 10 minutes before. He's standing in the corridor and he just stands there and he just salam to the students. Okay? And students are coming, salam alaikum. The students are getting ready now. They've had the breakfast, they're getting ready now. And as the students say salam to him, those of them that prayed Fajr, he would say salam and fine, they go. Those of them that didn't pray Fajr, he would hold the hand, pull them to himself, whisper in the ear, go and pray your Fajr. Now you telling me that this person has got some register, no register. No way of knowing this. And any student that has missed his Fajr in the morning, he knew, you come across Maulana, he will whisper in your ear, and nobody else knew this, he would say, Jakar Fajr par lena. He would say in a nice way. He would not embarrass you. He would say, "Na Jakar Fajr par lena. Pallo. Go and pray. Right? And the thing was, he would never get this wrong. In 4 years, he wouldn't do this every day, obviously, but whenever he could, he would tell someone. Now, when he got into the lesson, sometimes he went off on a tangent in the lesson, and he would say things, off the tangent. And you see now, wonderful stuff, like a bayan he started. After the lesson, somebody there, one of your colleagues will say, Ya Allah, that was all about me. After he's gone out, one of the students say, Ya Allah, he talked about me today. Sometimes they wouldn't say anything. Sometimes the student would die in shame. Later on, that student will go straight to his room and say, Hazrat, you talked about me in the lesson. Right? And Maulana would say, no, what do you mean I talked about you in the lesson? What do you mean I talked about you in the lesson? He said, look, Maulana, whatever you said in the lesson, it was directed to me. Then Maulana would say, look, just do your tawbah. Do your tawbah, repent to Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, this is not common that Allah Azza wa Jal gives this kind of firasa to anyone. And he wouldn't open up, he would never embarrass anyone. When he had to tell you, you've done something wrong, he would never embarrass you. In fact, when I would come from the holidays, if I did good, look, imagine, right? I've spent 7 days, I've gone from Nottingham to Walsall, I've spent 7 days, Maulana was not there. After 7 days, I come back. First meeting with Hazrat. Go straight in his room, Assalamu alaikum, maybe I bought something. He used to love the Bengalis in the madrasa. They used to love fish, and he used to love fish as well. And he used to love the moment when Bengali used to come and bring fish and other things for him. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. If you never bought it for him, don't worry, you wouldn't get a telling off, okay? So bring him something from home, give him the fish that he likes, and then we'll come into his room. When he would meet me, if I did something good in the holidays, this is after I get close to him. He would not do this with all the students. If I did something good in the holidays, he would comment on it. And if I did something bad in the holidays, he would comment on it. Straight away. Straight away. You just come in his gathering straight away. Once I remember, subhanAllah, this act, I'm just telling you this. I'm not in the act of doing this right now, but I could ask subhanAllah, how Allah has given Maulana firasa. And firasa is when you know the inner part of a person. Allah just gives you this quality that you can just read it. You can just read inside people's hearts. Once I remember in the holidays, I just, I started to get up for tahajjud and I started to read some long rakats. Because I wanted to read certain juz or whatever in the rakats. And I'm only telling you this because Maulana, he commented, and the way he commented, I thought, Ya Allah, what firas Allah has given Maulana. I came and I met him and he's turned around to me and he said, after a few days, he said, you know that salah that you started in the holiday time? He said, you know that salah that you started in the holiday time, you're not doing it now. Allah Azza wa Jal used to love that very much. And it's like, nobody knew of this. No one, not one human being would, not even my dad knew about this. And then he would add on, he would say, he would even comment on how to get khushu inside the salah. And he would tell me, he said, Hassan, when you get into your sujood, try and think like this. And he gave me in every part of salah something to think about to gain my khushu in salah. Now, this is not, I'm going to get into the khushu and I'm going to get into the actual prayer itself. Now think about this here. I went to Maulana and I got every single part of my salah part done through Maulana again. What I mean by this is that I went to his room and he taught me the full salah again. I'm 18 years old and I've been praying all my life, like from 12, whatever I've been praying, that's fine. But when I went to and I actually asked him, not that he wanted to do this to me, no. I said, Maulana, I want to go through everything with you. Teach me how to pray salah. And he was so happy, so happy. He commented to other ustads that Hassan has actually come to me to learn his salah. And I'm going to tell you this, right? I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to make you do it. He made me do every single part of it and he perfected it with me, right? So, you're going to turn your camera, I don't know which way. Okay, so he would, and I'm going to tell you simply, okay? He said first, your feet, both of them should be facing the Qibla straight. Some people have them like this, outwards. He said that's wrong. Because in the hadith, it's that your feet should be towards the Qibla straight. There should be a slight gap between your feet. Then he would say that when you raise your hands like this. And he showed me exactly like this, where you have your hands directly towards the Qibla. These fingers are together, these thumbs are loose, and they are to the level of the earlobes. And he made me practice this again and again. Some of you are going to say, oh yeah, that's so easy. No, you do it, you'll be doing this. And some people will be doing this. And all sorts of things, okay? It takes a lot of time this way. And all fingers straight, fingers joined together, these thumbs loose, okay? And you have it. Then, when you tie your hands, you try it like a little watch around where you put the thumb here, the little finger goes down there, 3 fingers straight there, put it where your belly button, just below belly button. And then he would teach me in every part, he taught me something to gain khushu. He said, when you stand, think about Maliki Yawmiddin, which is you're going back to Allah Azza wa Jalla on the Day of Judgment. And you're standing there right now. When you look down to your sujood place, that's your qabr, that's your grave. So that's where you stand. And then he would teach me to pray slowly. And when he went to ruku, he taught me a number of combinations. And most people get this wrong, to do the ruku properly. And I had to practice this with him quite a bit to get it right. Number 1, he said, when you go down in ruku, your palms have to be on your kneecaps. Okay? Kneecaps. Number 2, he said, your fingers have to be spread. That's fine. Number 3, he said, lock your legs. Number 4, he said, lock your arms. Number 5, and this is the most difficult part, I'm going to turn around a bit to show you this. You put your palms on your kneecaps, you put your hands webbed, you've locked your arms, you've locked your legs, and most people don't do this. Watch this. You have to go, can you see that now? Yeah? See, if you don't move forward, like I was normally here, okay? If you don't move forward And you know your heels, the muscles there, if you don't make yourself go forward like that, and that's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then you won't get a straight back. And then the last one is your head. It shouldn't be tilted down, it shouldn't be tilted up, it should be just straight. And when you have that, you know Maulana, he used to stay in this ruku for 20 minutes ago in tahajjud. I'm there with him and my knees are shaking. Because I went and joined him in tahajjud, I really begged him and I got that. But anyway, this is ruku. And this is the sunnah way of doing ruku. Some people think to get there straight back, you have to bend your legs. He said, that's wrong. You have to lock your legs straight, but you have to move yourself forward. And that muscle at the calf muscle will stretch slightly, but that's when you get the full back straight. Okay? And then he says, Sami Allahu liman hamida. He said the hands have to be to the side. And when you go down, he had a wonderful way, he told me, the going down. When you go down, he said, the back has to remain straight. Now this takes a lot of practice. Look, when I go down, look, knees bend, back is straight, back is straight, back is straight. Now where are my hands going to be? He said the hands have to slowly move in towards the kneecaps and towards the end of the thighs as you come down. Okay? Now you see my back hasn't bent at all. And then he said the knees down first. Okay? Then your hands down. And when your hands are in sujood, this is the position. Locked fingers, straight towards the qibla. 2 thumbs out, nose goes between these 2 thumbs here, okay, and the forehead here. So he said you make an arch with these 2 thumbs and the nose goes right in between the 2, and that's how you're going to sujood with your, obviously your elbows up and your feet on the ground. Again, the toes have to be facing the qibla. A lot of practice has to be done for this, because when you come back up from the sujood, when you come back up, you have to come back up. The sunnah is you come back up and you have to come back up with a straight back. Right? Straight back going down and straight back going up. All your thigh muscles are going to be really locked in to try and get that. Most people just go straight in like that, ruku and all the other, business that they have going ruku. And then tahiyyah position, you're sitting down. And what Maulana used to do, I don't know if you realize. When Maulana used to sit in tahiyyah, I've never been able to do that. I've never met anyone else being able to do that. He used to not only put his right foot up with his toes towards the qibla, he used to bend his left foot toes towards the qibla as well. He had both of the toes, both feet toes towards the qibla. How many of you have seen that? Maulana used to do that. He had both of them towards that. And the thing about Maulana in his salah was he did not used to move. That's another sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. When he used to be engaged in his salah, he used to be engaged in his salah, and he had a wonderful khushu, a wonderful way of. Now, let me tell you this. He said to me, okay, when you stand, you look at you're looking at your grave. When you're in your ruku, he said, look down. And he said, think, when Malakul Maut will come, it will take you first from the feet. Okay? He said, when you go into sujood, look at the end of your nose. Okay? Because when you go in your grave, the first thing that's going to deteriorate is going to be your nose. And when you sit in tahiyyah, in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, then think, and throughout the salah he said, this whole salah is about showing that you are no one in front of Allah. You are no one in front of Allah. Now, again and again, khushu, he used to have lessons in things, what he used to tell me. And Maulana Rahimahullah, in asking him these questions, he had no limits whatsoever of what he would expect from me. What he would expect from me. I know there's a couple of minutes left for the adhan. I'll give you time for that. That's it. 40 is the salah, so we've got about 3 minutes left. Let me tell you one other part of Maulana, and then you can have a break, inshallah, Maghrib, and we'll have to carry on after Maghrib because I've got a lot to tell you. I've only just started. I don't know how long I'll be able to get it all in, what I'll be able to get in before Isha, but I will try my best to get whatever I can in. So what happens is, this I just want you to listen to this story, and then we'll have the adhan of Maghrib. Your muadhin is not going to give the adhan till I finish, right, Maulana? Your muadhin's okay, tell him please, yeah? I don't want the adhan in between. Or ek do minute ho jaye, koi baat nahi. It's okay. One night I was in the madrasa and I woke up in the night time at 2 o'clock. Okay, so this is just as, I think by this time there's only about 60 students in the whole madrasa. I woke up in the night. I'm in a room with 6 other students. We're all sleeping in there. 2 o'clock I woke up and it was all dark. There's only a bit of light that was coming in from the lamp that was outside of the room, because there's some street lamps. You couldn't call them street lamps. There are lamps within the compound. They were there, and some of the light used to come inside the building. Yellowish kind of, amber kind of light that used to come in. So I woke up at 2 o'clock in the night, and I heard, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, and it was not one person saying this. This was a whole group of so many saying it. And I just woke up and I'm thinking, no one in the room is saying it. No one in the building is saying it. I can hear this coming from outside of the room, outside the window. So what I did is I slowly put my head up and I looked through the window and I did not see a single person. The whole place had leaves. It had the wind blowing gently. I could see through all the way to the courts of the tennis courts. I could see all the way across to Maulana's room on the corner. But nobody was there. But I'm hearing very loud, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Good 2-3 minutes I heard it. I looked through the window, then I went back to my place again and I slept. And the next day, Fajr time, because I used to go and serve Maulana breakfast at Fajr time. That was another time I used to go to him as well. So I went to him Fajr time and I served him the breakfast. And I said, Maulana, I said something strange yesterday. I said, I couldn't see anyone, neither in the building nor outside the building. I looked all around. But I said, I heard this dhikr yesterday. So I said to Maulana, I heard this La ilaha illallah after Fajr when I served him. And Maulana said to me, he said, so you heard that? And I said, Maulana, I said, what was it? What did I hear? There was no one there. He said to me, don't worry, you won't hear it again. I said to Maulana, please tell me, what was it? I want to know, what did I hear? Was it, I don't know what it was. I couldn't see anyone. He said, don't worry, you won't hear it again. Now, I never understood this, but when he passed away, rahimahullah, I related this to my Shaykh in Bangladesh, Mufti Rashidur Rahman Farooq. And Mufti Sahib said to me, my Shaykh said to me, he said, Allahu Akbar. He said, that means he used to teach jinns how to do dhikr in the night. That was a whole group of jinns. I never realized at that time. It was a whole group of jinns outside, all coming from his room outside. They were all gathered together in the night. And Maulana is giving them ta'aleem and is giving them instructions of dhikr. In fact, I'm going to tell you stories about him teaching jinns after the Maghrib Salah. I want you to stay. As soon as I come back on, I'm going to tell you how he used to teach jinns. Specifically one-to-one he used to teach jinns, inshallah. So let's have the Maghrib break now, inshallah. We'll carry on after that. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I told you about Hazrat, and he had not only was his ta'aleem and his instruction coming to the human beings, but also to jinns. And Allah gave this very special quality to him. And I'm not making this up. I mean, he used to teach jinns even here on Pitt Street. Pitt Street, here. He used to teach jinns. You might be smiling at me thinking how. His son is here right in front of me, Ahmad Ali. I've had a conversation with him. And he said, this is his son, Ahmad Ali, who's right in front of me now. So many times, 1 o'clock in the night, there's somebody in the house that is talking to Ustaadji. Ustaadji had a lot of guests that used to come to him. And no guest used to be refused. If somebody came to him, they came to him. He would serve whoever he could. And I just want to say on that note as well, again, his son Ahmad Ali narrated this to me, that once there was a few guests coming to see them, about 3 different guests coming to see them. And there was Maulana in the house, Ahmad Ali was in the house. In fact, things are coming in my head. Let me just tell you another story, then I'll tell you this one and the other one, right? He said to me once he went to a dinner, and the person in the house, they said, it was him and another Maulana that went to the house. And when they went, they were surprised because the woman bought the food. The woman bought the food to them. So she bought the food to them, the roti, everything else, and they ate. And after they finished eating, the woman just bought it and she went away, okay? So after they finished eating, the Maulana said to Ustaadji, he said, Ustaadji said, that woman, he said, she had one eye that was slightly out of place. And Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib, Ustaadji Rahimullah, he said, He said, I never looked at the woman. He said, I never even looked at the woman. I never even raised my eyes to look at the woman. Now, obviously, the other person's going to feel embarrassed. But Maulana told me this story. Why? Because he said he doesn't even look. He won't even look. The full time, however many times the woman came, served the food, went, he didn't even raise his head from the ground to look at her. While even the other Maulana might have got, even other Maulana might have looked once. I'm not saying he looked awkwardly, he might have looked once. And he saw that, he made the comment, but Ustaadji Rahimullah said, he said, I never looked to see how her eyes were, face were, I didn't even look. Now this other story I'm telling you of his own house in Pitt Street, there's a couple of people coming, and Ahmad Ali, his son, is in the house, Maulana Fazul Rahim is in the house, and there's hardly any food. Nothing's cooked, and they're coming right now, they're coming within minutes. So Maulana Fazul Rahim turned around to his son, he said, Ahmad, he said, quickly, we need to serve them some food. So Ahmad said, he said, Dad, there's no food. He said, there must be food. He said, there's hardly any food. He said, what is there? He said, there's a bit of chicken, little bit of chicken, and he said there's only a couple, literally 2 or 3 rotis, that's it. And they're coming right now. One of us inside said, put the pot on the cooker. He said, don't lift the lid up. Don't lift the lid up. So his son is here in front of me, he didn't lift the lid up, they put it on the cooker, and they only had 2 or 3 rotis. They did not make any fresh rotis, nothing. Okay? So the guests came. And Maulana was the first one to lift the pot up, and when he lifted it, he said, Bismillah. And then he put his own hand in there, and he took out chicken for this one, chicken for that one, chicken for this one. And then the roti, again, he put his hand into the container, he would take it out, break it up, and give this one quarter, this one quarter, this one quarter, that one quarter. Kept on, he would eat himself, Ahmad was eating, and gave more chicken to this one, more chicken. There's only a few key pieces, only 2, 3 pieces. But he kept on taking chicken out, he kept on taking more roti out, more roti out. Everyone was full. And there was still some left over. This is from the karama of the awliya. This is from what Allah Azza wa Jal gives from the karama of the awliya. Now if you don't believe this here, that's you. Because when you spend time with Ustaadji, if you spend time with him, then you would realize how he was. Because Ustaadji Rahimahullah, I used to go to his room, and when he opened up to me, I started to realize this is no ordinary man. And I'm not just saying this. Today on the way here, I phoned Shaykh Naeem from Oxford, who was the nephew of Ustaadji. Okay, Shaykh Naeem, he was in Bradford first, then he went to Southampton, he's in Oxford right now. Shaykh Naeem had a good conversation with him on the way, and one of the things he said, I said to him, Shaykh, I said, I'm going and I'm going to talk about Ustaadji in Oldham, in Pitt Street, in his masjid. And Shaykh Naeem, I said to him, please Shaykh, I said, tell me something that I can say. He said, one thing he said, which is in my heart as well. He said, this was no ordinary man. He said, we in the family, we have sometimes you have a little bit of a dispute amongst us. He said, our dispute is, who is the person in the family who says that Ustaadji is not close to him? He says everyone says he's close to him. In fact, he was telling me, he said that his sister is married to one of Ustaadji's sons. And he says she's like a bahu, like a daughter-in-law to him. Even she says, who's not close to Mamu? Who's not close to uncle? Everyone felt that they were closest to uncle. And this is in his family, he said, whether it's in the family, in the madrasa. Now I want to tell you this. My father, rahimahullah, was a person who was a bit, he was a bit more on the tough side. Okay? He's a bit more on the tough side. And I really give him a lot of du'as, because if it wasn't for my father, I don't think I'd be straight. I needed the beats, I'm trying to say, I needed them, okay? But I didn't have that father figure. You need a father to teach you manners, to teach you adab, to have a close relationship with you. You need that. I never got that, because when I went to madrasa, I was just with Ustad from the age of 14. Before the age of 14, my father was very much like, he kept his distance from us. So he never spent that one-to-one with us. I have to say this, and I'm not making this up. Ustaadji rahimahullah became like my father. And I will tell you this, if his son Ahmad was in the madrasa, and I'm saying this in front of him in his masjid, if he was in the madrasa, and I was in the madrasa same time, I would get no different treatment from his son. his son is nodding, I would get no different treatment because he actually treated me like a son. And this is a sign of a real teacher. And the way he treated me was like, there was no different from a real son to what I was as a student. I mean, I've got no relationship with him whatsoever. I just came across his life. I just came across this person, and he's wonderful. Every day I'm getting things from him. And every day he never took anything from me. And he used to say to me, Ajao, Ajao. He said, come here, beto, beto. Khalo, khalo. He said, eat, eat. Eat. He said, eat from. He used to say, Hassan, where are you going to find this food from? Because alhamdulillah, a lot of people used to give nice food, kebabs and, this kind of Afghani kebabs and sheikh kebabs and all the type used to come to his room, yeah? He used to feed, he used to give, and he used to give, and he used to give. And he used to say, he used to say to me, he said, Akal aa gaya. Akal means the big eater is here. So I used to go, and mashallah, Maulana used to have lovely food in his room, and he used to give, and he used to say to me, he says, Kanjus. He used to say, joking with me, he says, stingy. He says, you love dishing out other people's food, don't you? So because I used to, when you're sitting with them and you take his food and you give a bit to somebody else, and when I give it to somebody else, he says, हाँ दे दो उनको, दे दो, किसी औरों का जो माल है वो देने में बहुत खूब लगता है आपको. He said, when you give somebody else's food to somebody else, he goes, you're not giving your own food, are you? Right? But he used to say to me, he used to joke around like this. And the best, when you look at the hadith, kana mazahan. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to joke around with this, make cracks certain jokes that used to make you feel warm. He's not really putting me down at all. I used to love when he used to do that with me. But the thing was, in his jokes, there were lessons. In his jokes, there were lessons. I remember, subhanallah, once I was next to him, and he gave me tea. Shaykh Naim was in front as well, and we were drinking tea, and I drank my tea, and I put a cup down, and there's a little bit left. At the bottom the sugar is there, and sometimes tea leaves are there, right? At the bottom, so you kind of leave that. So I left that, and Maulana, subhanallah, if you saw Maulana eat food, forget not leaving anything, he was on another level. Okay, so he drank his tea, and he used to drink all of it, and the last one was like that. Okay, and he used to put it down. So he finished his, and he's looking at mine. I've left a little bit. And he said to me, he said, Hassan, he said, what's the matter? Now I said, I picked it up again, have a little bit. I don't want to have the sugar and the little tea leaves. And what he did is, in front of Shaykh Naim, he picked my cup up, took it, he drank it, and put it down. And he said, don't leave anything. He said, if you leave anything in your cup, he says, it's a sign of kibr, it's a sign of arrogance. Now, you have to just stay like that. But subhanAllah, he would say in a way sometimes, because I was close to him, he could say like this. When he would teach someone something, so this is how he used to eat. Now imagine this, yeah? He's finished a chicken leg piece, or thigh or something like that. When he's finished eating every single part of the chicken meat on the bone, he would take his penknife out. Ustaadji had a penknife. I don't know how many of you sat with him to eat, yeah? He would take his penknife out, he'd open it up, he'd take the same bone, and he would scrape the meat off the bone. The remaining minute pieces, would scrape it and scrape it and scrape it all around. Whatever piece he would scrape it, and he would have every bit of it. And when you saw the bone that was left, the bone was absolutely without any meat. And he would leave it like that. He would not let any single piece of his food drop and be left or not be eaten. He would finish everything. And this is from his teachings to us. Now I'm going to go back to the other stories that I'm coming to, which was, I said to you in Pitt Street, he taught jinns, and you're waiting for that one, right? Mehman used to come to his house, guests used to come to his house, and all the time guests used to come now and again, and always something is being given to the guests. And what happens is, sometimes people come at odd times, sometimes people come at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and just like Ahmed had to also take people out of the house, like he's his father, he has to give him a rest as well. If the people never said they're going, Ustaadji would never get them out of there. Now this is what used to happen in Nottingham. In Nottingham, I used to serve him breakfast in the morning, and then I used to return at 4 o'clock. And in the lesson time, I got a lot of time from him because he used to teach us. So I got the lesson time, then I got the after breakfast time, Then I got the 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock time, I used to really try and get benefit from that, and that's it, I'm done. Now, certain students used to go to his room at 9 o'clock in the night, and they used to go inside the room, and Maulana would take his peanuts out, he takes his badams out, he takes his whatever he has, and they're having a party in there. Like they're eating, and they're asking Maulana questions. Now, some of the questions they used to ask was wasting his time. Some of the questions, honestly, they're nothing of their benefit. They're just asking him about this, asking about that. And the thing is, Maulana never ever put anyone down, not a single of those students. Whatever they asked him, he would engage with them and he would talk to them. And that's how he made his mahabba and his love. And that's how he made them be people who wanted to love Islam, wanted to love the Quran. That's how he got them. So sometimes up till 11 o'clock in his room, I used to go up to 11 o'clock, knock on the door. There's about 7 of them inside there. I used to go in. And Maulana would never tell anyone to leave. I said, guys, get up. I used to be the Umar, yeah? I had to go in, guys, get up, I'm sorry. 11 o'clock, Maulana has to go to sleep because 2 o'clock he's up for tahajjud. There's no compromise on that. If Maulana Rahimullah slept at 11, he's up at 2. If he slept at 12, he's up at 2. If he slept at 1 o'clock, he's up at 2, and there's no other resting time. Only in the daytime, he would sleep 10 to 15 minutes just before Dhuhr Salah. So practically he's living off sleep, sometimes 4 hours a day, sometimes 3 hours a day, sometimes 2 hours a day, sometimes 1 hour a day. And I had to take those students out, but Maulana would never say no to them to go out of his room. And in that time, subhanallah, he's spending time with them, whatever they wanted. Sometimes even Maulana would get into a wrestling match with them. You might think, what? Yes, there's one student, I said this in one of my bands before, but I just say it as quickly as a thing, recap that. There's one student that all the teachers said, throw him out. And Maulana Rahimullah, he said, no. He said, don't throw him out. He said, I'll take him in my service. And Maulana took him in his service. This guy was wild. About 7 of us used to beat him up, and nothing happens to him. Okay? 7 of us beat him, nothing happens to him. And he was doing all these other things in the madrasa, which the Ustad said, all the teachers said, get him out. Maulana alone said, no. He said, I will look after him, and he took him in his service. And then Maulana started to work on him. How did he work on him? He saw that, he's a strong guy, right? He's a strong guy. So Maulana said, Maulana's 70 years old now. This kid is 19 years old. 19 or 18 years old. And I'm not going to give you the name for the sake of it, but I'll tell you this. Maulana said to he said, you're strong, huh? He said, yeah, I'm strong. He said, you couldn't beat me. This is Maulana Fazul Rahim. He said, you can't beat me. He said, in what? He said, in wrestling. He laughed. He said, what are you talking about? He said, I'll take you on. 70-year-old man, who's not going to take a 70-year-old man on? He said, I'll take you on. He said, come on, let's start. So Maulana in his room, 6 by 6, he's having a wrestling match. And then what happens? You're expecting, right? Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib is going to be knocked on the ground, right? No. Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib put him on the ground. He was strong. My God, he was strong. And then he got him on the ground, and then the student said, look, give me another chance. Give me another chance. So Maulana said, okay, stand up again. Let's go again. So they went again. Maulana got him on the ground again. Maulana not only got him on the ground, Maulana put him in a position the 18-year-old strong kid couldn't even move. And Maulana said to him, he said, hey, what happened? Huh? He said, well, he said, you're strong? You're strong. Now through this, he created a friendship. You got to think what he's doing. He's not just wasting his time. He never did this with any other student. He was looking for a way to get this student into the studies, for him to love to study the course that is in the madrasa. So now this kid, how embarrassed this student was, this teenager was. How embarrassed, a 70-year-old man put him on the floor, right? Who's he going to say this to? So he became like a little bit of a mouse in front of him. So Maulana said, look, I know things that you don't know. So then they start talking. The Maulana found out that he likes poetry. So Maulana engaged him in poetry more and more until every day the student used to come and learn poetry of him. And through that, Maulana taught him the religion. And through that, Maulana made him, subhanAllah, that teenager who all the teachers were going to throw out, today he's an imam of his own right. And it's only because of Ustaadji that person became an imam. Otherwise, he was going out of the madrasa. All teachers were ready to throw him out of the madrasa. This is the level of tarbiyah. And if I tell you, subhanAllah, let me go back to again, I'm drifting off, right? You want to hear that story in Pitt Street, the jinn, right? Okay. Ahmed told me this, that at 11 o'clock, okay, he's getting people out of the house. And what happens is, some nights, what happens? This happened more than one night. He wakes up 1 o'clock in the night, and in his father's room, his father is talking to somebody upstairs in the bedroom. So Ahmed, his son, gets up, and he goes to the room, and who's talking? I mean, 1 o'clock in the night, right? He knocks on the door, and he goes into his father's room. His father, Ustaadji Rahmatullahi, is sitting on one side of the bed. In front of him is a pillow. On the pillow is Sahih Bukhari, okay, facing him. In front of him is another pillow on the bed, on the same bed. On that bed is a Bukhari facing the other way around, and in that place there's no one. So Ahmed says, Dad, I've been hearing that you're talking. Who are you talking to? Ustadji says, no, he said, you might have heard a few things, whatever you heard, go back to sleep. Don't worry, there's no one here. Many occasions he walked in that room and he saw his father like that with Bukhari towards him, Bukhari towards the other way, and there's no one sitting there. Basically, he was teaching a jinn and he was giving him lessons from Sahih Bukhari. This was your Ustadji, which most of you never knew. And even I wouldn't have known this thing. But when you spend close time with him, then you realize that this is no normal man. You know why? Because he said to me this. Because when you get close to him, he brings things out. If you weren't close to him, you'd never say any of this. And I can only say this now because he's gone away. If I ever said this and he was still alive, oh my God, he would have got so angry with me. So once he said to me, he said, Hassan, he said, I know an ayah in the Quran, if I read it, then I can open any lock I want. He said, I know an ayah in the Quran, if I read it, any lock, locked, completely locked. If I want to open the door or the lock, I can open it. I was amazed at this. I asked him for the ayah. He wouldn't give it to me. I was too young, right? He wouldn't give it to me. Then he said to him another day. He said, Hassan, he said, I know an ayah in the Quran. If I read it, I can become invisible. I'm not making this up. Now again, you might say, well, where is that in the Sunnah? They said, no, look. Certain waliyas of Allah, they get close to Allah. Allah puts something in their heart. They know what to read. They read it and Allah just inspires them. This is from the mujarrabat. This is from the experience. Okay? This doesn't have to be direct from the Quran and Sunnah. Allah gives it to whoever He wants. And he said this, he said, I know an ayah in the Quran, if I read it, I can become invisible. I said, Shaykh, what's that ayah? He said, where do you want to go? Huh? And he wouldn't give me the ayah. So then I started to think to myself, I need a good way, I need a good reason to get the ayah. I said, Shaykh, I said, there's a lot of things going on in the world, And if I had that ayah, he said, where would you go? I said, well, I could go to certain, secret services. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could go inside there, start seeing what they're planning, what they're doing. And he said to me, he said, Hassan, if you got that ayah and you went to the secret services place, invisible, went inside there and you saw what they wrote, he said, what are you going to do after that? He said, at least I know the plan. He said, what are you going to do after that? And then he would go into a whole discussion of, look, whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has planned, Allah, that's going to happen anyway. We are only a means on the earth. We have our will, Allah has His will. And when the two wills clash together, Allah's will cuts the human's will. And he was a very strong believer of this will, of that you do what you want, but Allah Azza wa Jal, when His will clashes with your will, He's going to cut you, and whatever He wants will happen. But you're supposed to still do whatever you want to do. Through that, he would say the quotations of Ali radiallahu anhu. That عرفت ربي بفصل العوازم. Ali radiallahu anhu would say that I recognize my Lord by the times that I made an intention and Allah wanted something different, and whatever Allah wanted happened. When He cut my determinations, that's when I found out that Allah is the one who's in control. And then he would talk often about his Shaykh, his biggest Shaykh in his life was Shaykh Hussein Ahmad Madani rahimahullah. Okay, from Deoband. He graduated from Deoband in 1949. Okay, Maulana Fazul Rahim, he graduated from Deoband 1949, and he would often speak about Deoband to me, to us. And he said there was no other teacher that was on the level of Hazrat Hussain Ahmad Madani rahimahullah. And by speaking about that, what he said is that, he said, what Allah gave Shaykh Hussain Ahmad Madani rahimahullah, he said nobody else had. He said, I used to ask myself, Hazrat, how are you sleeping just 3 hours, 2 hours in a day? He said, that's nothing. He said, my Ustad, my Shaykh Hazrat Hussain Ahmad Madani rahimahullah used to sleep 1 hour a day. Every day, 1 hour. He said sometimes when he wouldn't be able to sleep 1 hour a day, in the daytime he used to sit down like this and he used to doze off a little bit, just for a few seconds, and he would get up and he would say, Mujhe bahut neend aati hai, mujhe bahut neend aati hai. Lord, I get very, very sleepy, I get very, very sleepy. He said, I've had a very good sleep. And he said he would get up and on another 24 hours without sleeping. And I used to be amazed. How are they doing this? He said, Subhanallah. Shaykh Hussain Ahmad Madani rahimahullah, when he would speak about him, he would speak very highly of him. That sometimes because of his political, contribution that he had that time in India, because they were trying to keep India as one. His thing was to keep India as one. And if you know about Maulana Thanvi rahimahullah, his thing was to have the formation of Pakistan, or to have a formation of a different land, a Muslim land. So they had the differences. Both of them are buzugs in their own right, both of them are the wali of Allah in their own right, but they had this big difference. And he said to me, he said, and this is from his teaching, he said, once Shaykh Hussain Ahmad Madani rahimahullah, at Fajr time, because he used to pray tahajjud and he used to read one juz of the Quran in his tahajjud, and then after that in the morning he called a couple of his disciples and he said to them, he said, do you know what? He said, Pakistan is going to happen. As in the land the Muslims wanted is going to happen. And Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani was really working to keep India as one without it splitting into Pakistan or whatever other land is going to split into. Now his disciples said, this was in 1946 he said this. 1946 he said this. 1947 is the formation of Pakistan. These disciples said, Hazrat, how is this? And then Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani said, he said, Allah Azza wa Jal, because Allah puts ilham, what we call ilham. Sometimes He puts a thought in the heart, very strong thought that is going to happen. And this is from the awliya of Allah, this happens with them. He said, I have felt this morning after my dua that Allah is going to allow this new land to happen. His disciples said, but Hazrat, he said, so do we stop our campaign now? He said, no, we don't stop our campaign. His disciples said, why? If you know from something that you've received from Allah Azza wa Jal that this new land is going to take place, then shouldn't we give up our campaign and do something different? He said, no. He said, the human has to do what the human is seeing on the earth, but whatever Allah will happen anyway. And this is from the teachings of Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib. That you do your best of what you want to do. When Allah brings His cause in place and it goes against yours, it's going to happen anyway, but you've got your intention of doing whatever good it is, just go according to what you see. On the way here today, I was talking to Maulana Umar Abdul Razak. Okay, he's from Leicester. He spent a lot of years with Shaykh after we've graduated in 1997. He probably spent the last 18 years, okay, of Hazrat's life, he spent with Maulana. He was traveling with him, went to Umrah with him, went even to Pakistan with him, took him to Kenya several times, made him come to Leicester, and he stayed there. He spent a lot of time. So I was on the phone to him on the way here. I said, tell me something you remember about Hazrat. He said one thing was, subhanAllah, he said that Maulana would teach you, he would say to you, make mashwara with your elders. Have consultation with your elders on the one side. At the second time he would say, do istikhara with Allah Azza wa Jal, pray your 2 rakats of istikhara. But he said, when you've done istikhara and Allah's put into your heart to do something, and your mashwara, your consultation said do something, he said, go ahead with it. Whether it goes against you or whether it's for you, don't worry about it, just go ahead with it. Why? He said, if your istikhara works and the mashwara or your consultation was in that direction, to go that direction, and you went in there, even if you have a bit of a storm coming your way, he said, don't worry, Allah will make it be better in the end anyway. And these were from the teachings of Maulana, because he used to give a lot of good advice. Subhanallah, he was even in philosophy. Subhanallah, in philosophy, you would not be able to beat him in the debates that he would come out with in philosophy. philosophy, like I said earlier, psychology, sociology, human beings, their behavior, all that. Maulana was a great master of that. And I told you earlier in the talk, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get inside these remaining parts. But Maulana was a great person who would be able to read people and know how they wanted to be treated, and he would treat them according to what they wanted to be treated. This was a very deep thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, which is you meet someone, you know how they want to be treated, and you treat them how they like themselves to be treated. And he used to say to me, subhanallah, never judge a person. Let me give you from his ta'lim, from his education where I learned. Once I was in his room, and a person came in clean shaven, complete clean shaven, comes in, stocky person, 40 years old, and he came in and he said salam to Hazrat. Hazrat got up just like he gets up for everybody else. He got up, he hugged him, he embraced him, he gave him a few du'as, he had his cheerful face, he spoke to him nicely, he made his cups of tea for himself. He sat down, I was there all the while. Half an hour he spoke to the individual, he answered all his questions, he spoke to him very up. And he met him to the door. As he left, Ustaadji closed the door, he sat with me, and then he said this to me. He said, Hassan, he said, do you know that this individual who just came in now, he said, unke muh se sharab ki boo aa rahi thi. He said, from his mouth, I could smell alcohol. I could smell that he had a good few drinks and he came. I was surprised. What? You're hugging this man. You're treating him just like everybody else. You've treated him no different than anybody else. And I was surprised. And he said to me, he said, Hassan, he said, listen and learn. He said, never judge a person by their beard. He said, there's beard, there's no beard. He said, that does not tell you who has taqwa of Allah, who fears Allah, who doesn't fear Allah. That does not tell you that. Never judge a woman for her hijab. She wears a hijab, not wears a hijab. That doesn't tell you about her taqwa. Yes, she should wear hijab, fine. But that does not tell you about her fear of God. He said the fear of God is not in the clothes, is not in the appearance. The appearance we do for a sunnah of the Prophet, fine. That is in its own sense. We do that. That's a reward. And that's something you do, you should do, and so on, the way you dress and so on. But he said that does not say it. He said, you know this person? Unki muh se, he said, from his mouth I could smell alcohol, but he said, Hassan, he said his heart was so clean. La ilaha illallah. He said his heart was more clean than some others who come with big beards to me. Now listen to this. I'm not putting down. Look, I've got a beard as well. Many of you got a beard as well. We're not putting it down. But you got to understand what he taught me. He said, don't judge people by their appearance. He said he's got a lot of love of Allah in his heart. His heart is so clean. He's fearful of Allah. Though he's drinking, he's fearful of Allah. Then he told me a story. He said in Pakistan, where he used to teach in the school, he used to cycle it every day. And he told me another story, by the way, and there's so many things that come to my head. I ain't got time to finish this today. He said there was one man who used to teach in his school. He was 55 years old. How old? Guys, tell me, how old? I stayed there, say 55, say it. He said at 55 years of age, he used to be a colleague of his, both of them used to go to school and teach. 55 years of age, that old man said to himself, he's gonna try and do hifz of the Quran. He's gonna try and memorize the Quran. So every day he used to memorize one ruku at home, and that one ruku, as he's cycling, he used to cycle, Maulana used to cycle as well. That person, that old man used to go over his learned part on his cycle all the way till he reached the school. He said in 7 years, every day, 1 ruku, 2 rukus, 3 rukus, 4 rukus, like that, and every day his revision was on the cycle. Is in 7 years, at the age of 62, that man became Hafiz of the Quran. Hafiz of the Quran. Anyway, he's now telling me a story about another person in the school. He said in the school, he said, Hassan, he said, don't judge anyone by their beard, whether they have the beard or not. Yes, it's good if they have the beard, but he said, don't judge them by that. हर एक से मिलना है, हमें हर एक से मिलना है, हर एक से जोड़ना है. He would say, we've got to meet everybody, and we've got to be united with everybody. And then he said to me, he said, in that school in Pakistan, he said there was a young 18-year-old new teacher. He said, this 18-year-old, he said, if you looked at him, he was like someone from a magazine. You know, you get these celebrities, the face is just like a designer face. He said the girls in the school, in the college, they were crazy for him. They were like all over him. They wanted him. And you know him? He said, Hassan, he said, Usne kabhi ek din, jab padha raha tha, when he used to teach, he said, not one day did he used to look at those girls. And he was clean shaven. Clean shaven, 18 years old, beautiful face, girls are throwing themselves at him because he wouldn't even look at them. And he said, do you know Hassan? He said he was hafiz of 10,000 ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 10,000 ahadith that man knew from his heart. He said, don't judge anyone from the outside. You don't know whose heart has what taqwa. He said, taqwa is in the heart. Fear of Allah is in the heart. It's not on the appearance. These are the teachings that I would get from him. Sometimes we used to walk around in the neighborhood. And I would tell you one thing that, subhanAllah, he would never ever cry. You know this thing about crying in dua, crying in salat? No, never, not in front of anybody. Not in front of anybody. I begged him to join him for tahajjud. This is when I first joined. I said, Maulana, please, I want to join you for tahajjud. He said, no. He said, I don't want anyone to join me. So I begged him and I begged him and I begged him. And in the end, he said, okay, I'm going to allow you. So for about 20 nights, he allowed me to join him. And I was so excited. But you know me, I was a very heavy sleeper. He came and he used to wake me and he used to drag me up. Sometimes he'd pull me all the way up and I'd go all the way back down. But Maulana carried on, with his best way. He pulled me up. He got me and said, Hassan, ab wudu kallo, jakar wudu kallo, make your wudu. I made my wudu. I'm so excited. I'm going to go and pray tahajjud with him. So I went in his room and 2 o'clock he used to get up. And I used to say, Maulana, how do you get up? No alarm clock, 2 o'clock. How do you get up every night? He said to me, this is the trick. You ready for this? Now you guys don't want to hear this, do you? You guys want your salad and roti after this, right? You want to get going, yeah? Taking all this time talking about Ustaadji. He said to me, when you go to bed, he said, sit up on your bed. And this is from his mujarrabat. These are things that they've experienced, okay? You're not going to find it in the Quran, Sunnah. Sometimes you come across things that you experience. It's fine. If it works for you, just do it. You can't call it Sunnah. You can't call it from the religion. But if it works for you, just do it. So he said, sit on your bed. He said, close your eyes and read Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr, the surah. Yeah, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr is the surah. He said, read it with your eyes closed all the way you come to hatta matla'il fajr. And he said, when he said fajr, he said, open your eyes and think of the time you want to wake up. And he said, then close your eyes again, read Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr all the way to the end, hatta matla'il fajr. Open your eyes and think of the time you want to get up. And he said, do it 3 times. When you do 3 times, you go to Allahumma bismika amudu, go to sleep. The time you want to get up, exactly that time you will get up. If it's 3:02, you'll get up at 3:02. Serious, I've tried this. It's weird. But he said this. He said, Hassan, Allah Ta'ala neend utha dega, tumse cheen lega, lekin thode waqt ke liye. He said, Allah will take the sleep from you, but only for a few seconds. If you wake up in the night, 5 seconds, you're fully awake. If you jump up that time, then you've made it. If you stay there, your full sleep will come back to you. And that's how he used to get up at 2 o'clock in the night. And when he would get up, subhanAllah, he'd do his wudu. Okay, he woke me up. I went and we went to his room. And he said, okay, let's pray tahajjud together. So he made me lead. So I led. And after that, he said, Hassan, he said, now let me teach you how I pray. He said, come behind me and read. So he started. And when he started, he wasn't a full hafiz of the Quran, but he knew many parts of the Quran he could recite off by heart. So we're in the dark, and when he prayed tahajjud, subhanAllah, full pitch, dark. Alright? So I'm behind him, and this is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that he allowed Abdullah bin Abbas to join him in salah. And later on I found out in Sahih Bukhari, he had a group of youngsters that came to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he allowed them to pray tahajjud with him for 20 nights. And subhanAllah, Maulana Fazul Rahim Sahib allowed me 20 nights more or less roughly to join him. After that he said no more. I couldn't understand why, but I understood when I came to Bukhari and read the hadith. So what he did is he allowed me to stand behind him. He said, mere piche khada ho jao. He said, ready, tayyar ho? I said, fine, and I started. Now when he said Allahu Akbar, he started and I started to read. And this is Nafal Salah, so you can read it a bit loudly. So he's reading Alif Lam Mim. He goes to some part of the first juz, long rakat. And it's a good long rakat. I don't know, maybe could be about half an hour. We're standing here, okay? 20 minutes, half an hour, I don't know. So then he goes into ruku. When he went to ruku, I'm not joking. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when he used to do his tahajjud, alright? When he goes into ruku, however long he stood in his qiyam, that's how long he's doing ruku. So if he stood for 20 minutes, his ruku is 20 minutes. And I'm not joking. And this 70-year-old man, Ustaadji, is comfortably doing his 20 minutes. Half an hour is doing it. And me, my legs are shaking. Alright? And in his ruku, he says, Subhan Rabbil Azim, Subhan Rabbil Azim, Subhan Rabbil Azim. After that, then he starts du'as. Oh my God, the du'as. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrik wa shukrik wa husni ibadatik. Allahumma ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Allahumma ya musarrif al-qulub, sarrif qalbi ila ta'atik. And all the ad'iyah or the du'as of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of the masnoon du'as, he would say in his ruku some of them. Then Sami Allahu liman hamidah. My God, when he said Sami Allahu liman hamidah, my back was like, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. So I stood up, and as I stood up next to him, then he says, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd. And then he would say, Hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi, and carry on. And then he would say, Ya Rabbal Alamin, Rabbal Samawati wal Ard, wa Rabbal Arshil Azim, wa Rabb. And he'll carry on, all Arabic and carry on. And I'm standing there. Another 20 minutes he'd be standing. Du'as. And then Allahu Akbar to sujood. In his sujood, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal. And then he starts du'as again. These are du'as from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, du'as, and he would do another sort of 15-20 minutes again, and then he sit in between, another 20 minutes again, then he go back inside sujood, another one like that, and get up again, and another good rakat, and then all that. Oh my God. And this is just 2 rakats. You probably spend a good hour and a half, I don't know how long. If each one was 15 minutes each section, then they're all 15 minutes. Okay? And by the time you've done 2 rakats with him, you're like, whoa, you're a young man. You're supposed to be 20 years old or 18, I don't know how old, 18, 19 hours. And he'd pray his 8 rakats during the night. And after he would finish that, then he would do some dhikr, some dua. After he finishes dua, he would go to the Fajr place and he would be in the front line. Most of his salats, illa mashallah, most of his salats was in the front line. Okay? Those of you who were with us in Nottingham, you knew that. And then after he finishes his Fajr, he's go back, and then what he's doing? He does some dhikr, then he takes a book out, Dalailul Khairat, which is full of durood on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to finish one Dalailul Khairat every single morning. This is 1 hour of sending salutations to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After that, I'm going to tell you something about the salutations in a bit, but after that he would start looking at the books for the lesson. He would prepare for his lessons. Then 8 o'clock he would teach all the way till 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock he comes to his room. He rests for about 10-15 minutes. Then they bring him some lunch. He has his lunch. He brings his lunch first, has lunch, and then he rests for 10-15 minutes. Then he would get ready for Dhuhr. He goes for Dhuhr, prays Dhuhr. Then he's teaching for another 2 hours. Till 3:30, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock I'm there. Somebody else is there. Mehman are coming. Guests are coming. All the way to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, he's sitting in his room again. He's now preparing for his next day lesson for 2 hours. Anyone came in that time, he would close his book straight away. The mehman or the guest, he would look at him. 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, he would have his dinner, Maghrib, Isha, all that done. Then the students would come. All the way till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, when they literally had enough and they'd be kicked out of his room, he would go to sleep for 2 hours, back up again, 2 o'clock, no miss. 2 o'clock tahajjud. One morning I went to his room. And I went for breakfast, and that's the only morning he wasn't cheerful. And I thought, something has happened today. You know, something happens to someone. Yes, he was happy with me, cheerful, but I could tell something's wrong today. He's not as cheerful as he normally is. And I sat there and I said, Hazrat, I said, what has happened? And he had a very sad face. I said, what has happened, Hazrat? And then he opened up to me. You know what he said? He said, Hassan, in 40 years. 40 years. How many? 40 years. The first time in my life I missed the Tahajjud. 40 years. First time in my life, this morning, I missed the Tahajjud. And then he told me, he said, it's because of the jinns and the shayateen in this area. Because a lot of different jinns and shayateen, because it was a very wild kind of area. And he said, and he related the story of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on one valley they came and he told Bilal radiallahu anhu to look where the sun is rising from so that they can tell them about Fajr, and they had a very heavy sleep there and they actually missed Fajr. So he narrated that story and he said, look, after 40 years this has happened, it's because of the influence of the shayateen and so on. And Hazrat would, subhanallah al-azim, Hazrat would sit in his room and he would be able to tell me what's going on the other side of the madrasa. He would tell me from where he is. And you might think this is crazy stuff. I'm telling you, I had the experience with him several times, because he opened up to me. And he said, Allah's made the whole madrasa to me like a little ball in front of my face. He said, whichever way I want to turn it, I can turn it, and I can see the kids running around in the west wing, how they're running, where they're running, what they're doing. He said, Allah shows me that from where I'm sitting here now. If kids were up to something in the madrasa, he would know this. This is firasa. This is what Allah Azza wa Jal gives such people. And I want to say to you, subhanallah, I'm running a bit like Hazrat, thodi si ta'khir ho jaye to gunjaish hai nahi. Is it okay? I'm not going to probably get invited here again. I know. That is, thodi si ta'khir ho jaye, theek sahi hai na? Okay, I'll just quickly try and wrap up. After I finished, I came to Pitt Street here, 1998. I came to Pitt Street. Ahmed was in Pakistan that time. It was only me and Maulana Fazul Rahim in the house. Ahmed, you don't know about this, yeah? Okay, I came to the house, only me and Maulana Fazul Rahim. And I really wanted to, give a kind of allegiance to him and say, please, Hazrat, become my murshid and someone who's going to guide me like in the spirituality and so on. So I went to the house, and this is the full night, okay? When I came to his house, Maulana started to cook. He started to chop the onions. And I was going to get up chop. He goes, nay. He said, Baitho. Mera Hassan, pyare, baitho, sit down. I'm sitting here, this old man is chopping onions in front of me. He wouldn't let me touch it. He would not let me touch it. Tomatoes, onions, whatever, he's chopping it, he's making the curry. And he had a very good way of making it. He said he left it on night, all night, 5 hours on slow cook, he was cooking it. That night we spent 5 hours talking. And we talked about everything, you name it. And I said, Hazrat, please, I want you to become like my spiritual guide. So guide me. He said, Main iska laik nahi hoon. Because I don't have that position to do that. I was just talking to Shaykh Naim on the way here. Shaykh Naim said, Main to roya, itna roya. So I cried so much. He said, because I went to Hazrat, I said, please, hand to hand, please, give me, make me your little student in the spiritual path and guide me. And Hazrat, he said, I'm not of that position. I'm not of that position. Go to somebody else. I spent 24 hours, more than 24 hours in Pitt Street, begging him, literally begging him. He did not allow it. But the great thing about him was that he would give me good advice over the phone. He would still guide me. And I want to say two more things, because our time is up. I would have loved to say a lot more incidents. I have to say some incidents, man. Hazrat, you're going to have to forgive me, yeah? Let me tell you about his akhlaq, how he taught, right? One day I came with the breakfast in his room, and as I came in his room, subhanAllah, I had a whole tray. Hot milk on there, other things, biscuits, fruits, other things, eggs, whatever. And we used to have this Khan Sab in the kitchen that used to make it. Remember the fellow? Khan Sab. Khan Sab, you couldn't talk to him properly. You just make it, give it to you, and you had to just take it. So I was balancing this, all the way to his room. And it was a long walk to go all the way up the stairs to his room. Anyway, I made it there. I knocked on the door and I realized he's praying Ishraq in his room. So I just about opened the door came inside with the tray. And as I'm putting it down, La ilaha illallah, I dropped the whole jug of hot milk, hot piping milk onto his carpet. And Hazrat is in Salah. He's praying his Salah. Maulana never twitched. He just prayed his normal Salah. And the whole hot milk fell on his rug and his carpet. And I said, Ya Allah, I'm dead today. Today I'm fired. Today I'm fired. I was panicking. I got some tissues. I started to dab it on there and I didn't know what to do. Maulana finished his Salah. And then he turned around and he said, Mere pyare Hassan, kya ho gaya? Kya ho gaya? Just like this. Mere pyare Hassan, kya ho gaya? Itne pareshan kyun hote ho? Arey ji, idhar aao. He said, what's the matter? What's the matter? Why are you becoming so frustrated for? He said, come here. He said, Baitho. He made me sat on his bed. Baitho. Aram se baitho. Dekhiye, kuch nahi hua. Kya hua? Thoda sa doodh hai. He said, nothing happened. It's only a bit of milk. मैं आपको तरीका सिखाता हूँ मेरे प्यारे हसन कुछ नहीं हुआ कुछ नहीं हुआ. He went, he got some water with another jug, and I was red in the face. I was thinking, oh my God, what have I done? His whole room's going to smell now, okay, because it's milk. So he put some water with a jug, he put it over there, over the pot, and he's talking to him all the way. Hassan, परेशान हो गए? परेशान? क्यों? मैं तरीका सिखाता. Let me teach you how to do this. So he put water over there, he took a spoon, took a bowl, and he started to scrape it into the bowl. I got down, tried to do it. He said, नहीं, Hassan, बैठो, आराम से, कुछ नहीं करना, कोई फिक्र नहीं, don't worry about it. And he did it once, scraped all up. Again, he threw that. He got another one, and another jug again, put it over, and he scraped it again. Another jug, he scraped it again. After he finished, he dried it up, and I'm sitting there just like, I don't know what to do. And then he just put his mat out like normal. He put the breakfast stuff on the mat. He made me sit down and gave me a cup of tea, and he said, Mere pyare Hassan, ab batao. Like, what can I do for you? Normal, not a single difference at all the way I would have ruined his carpet. Now I'm going to say a couple more incidents and I'm done. These are, subhanAllah, these are after his demise. Hazrat was Hazrat during his lifetime, and I could have benefited more. I know that. May Allah, when you meet a wali like this, please just take every bit you can to take time of them. We never realized who he was. When he passed away, Rahmatullahi, the day he passed away, before he passed away, he actually said to the people around him in Pakistan, he said, "Main jis din chala jaunga," he said, that day everything's going to be white. He said this a few times. Even when he was in hospital, he said, the day I go, everything's going to be white. The day he passed away, from nowhere there was snow that fell in that part of Pakistan. There was snow everywhere. But it melted very quickly for them to take the janazah to its right place. But he said that. He said, the day I go, everything's going to be white. Now after he passed away I, alhamdulillah, saw him in my dream a few times. And I'm going to narrate to you two dreams that I've seen, and inshallah then the adhan can happen and we're finished, okay? And he told me this to tell people. That's why I want this to go in the camera. He came to me in my dream and he said to me, he opened a part of the Quran. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ لَا يُشْرِكُونَ وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ أَنَّهُمْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ رَاجِعُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَهُمْ لَهَا سَابِقُونَ. You'll find this in Surah Mu'minun. These are verses that say, those people who believe in their Lord, those people who do not commit shirk or any associate partners with their Lord, those people who give but they fear that they're going to have, their hearts fear they're going to return to Allah, they're the ones who move forward towards khair and towards goodness. He said, Hassan, give dars of this ayah, teach people this ayah, teach people. He's so happy, teach people this ayah. I phoned my Shaykh in Bangladesh and I said to him, what have I seen? He said he's in a very good place, and he's trying to say to you that this has been his outcome, that he's running to his Lord. يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَهُمْ لَهَا سَابِقُونَ. Then I saw him again in my dream, and this was even more profound. The one I saw next was, subhanAllah, I actually had ta'aleem from him. He taught me something in my dream after his death, a teaching that I never found anywhere in the books. This tafsir, you can check any tafsir in the world, you will not find this. So Hazrat came in my dream and he said, Hassan, Mu'min pereshan kabhi ho jata hai. He said, Hassan, believer sometimes becomes a bit frustrated. He said, Hassan, the believer doesn't realize how Allah makes him grow slowly with his iman. He doesn't realize it, but if you were to look at it over time, you'd realize it. He said, let me teach you now. This is all in my dream. He said, look at the Quran. He opened the Quran. It was at the end of Surah Fath, 48th Surah. Right at the end, Muhammadur Rasulullah, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ. When you know that ayah, the last ayah of Surah Fath, check it out. So in there he said, there is an example of the believer and how Allah grows a plant. أخرج شطأه فآزره فاستغلظ فاستوى على سوقه يعجب الزراع ليغيظ بهم الكفار. Now that ayah, he said to me, look Hassan, in my dream he said, Hassan, come here. He said, take this microscope. He gave me a microscope. All right. So he showed me the growing tree. He said, look through the microscope. And I looked through the microscope, and there were many layers of the part of the tree growing, of the plant growing. He said, look, there are 100 layers here, 100 layers. And I looked, there was like 100 layers, green layers growing. But if you looked at the stem, it was only a small stem. But in the stem, when you look deeply, there are 100 layers. He said, like this, Hassan, Allah takes the believer through life. And this ayah is saying that the believer doesn't realize how Allah grows the believer, but there are many layers within him that are growing. He thinks he's nowhere, but Allah is saying through this ayah that is making him stronger and stronger. Then he said to me, he said, तुम ऐसा करो, he said to me, he said, पूरे दुनिया को ये तफसीर बताओ Quran का. He said, tell the world about the tafsir of this ayah. He said, teach them this tafsir, that the believer is growing, not for the believers to think that they are desperate in a situation and Allah is not with them. No, Allah is with them, He's making them grow, but they don't see how Allah is making them grow thicker and thicker. Anyway, Jazakumullahu khair. I've said all that. We're going to have a mukhtasar dua now, inshallah, for Maulana Fazul. So a very short one we can, inshallah, and after the adhan, and you can have your food, inshallah. I've held you too long. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept this from all of us. May Allah Azza wa Jal benefit us from the legacy of Ustaadji, and may Allah Azza wa Jal, like I said, give him the best abode in the next life. Let's make a quick dua. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. اللهم يا حنان يا منان يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. Oh Allah, we ask you that you accept this gathering. We ask you that you accept this masjid. You accept all our worship. We ask you to accept Ustaadji and all the khidmah, all the service he has done, all the people he has helped, all the services he has done in this world. Oh Allah, accept them, forgive and overlook his sins and whatever he may have done wrong. Oh Allah, I ask you, oh Allah, and we all ask you here, that you give Ustaadji the highest abode in Illiyin, that you make him be of the highest people in Illiyin. Oh Allah, we ask you to have mercy on his soul. We ask you to raise him on the day of judgment amongst the Nabiyyin, Siddiqin, Shuhada, Salihin. We ask you to make him come up his grave in Medina Munawwara next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, drinking from the Kawthar at the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask you to make him from those people who will go with an easy account on the day of judgment. Oh Allah, give his book in his right hand, and oh Allah, take him with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba and the Anbiya towards Jannah. And not only Jannah, let him cross the bridge like lightning. And oh Allah, let him go to the other side from the first of the first, Sabiqun al-Awwalun. And not only grant him Jannah, but oh Allah, give him Jannatul Firdaus. And oh Allah, we ask you to make us people who will benefit from his legacy. And oh Allah, we ask you to create the likes of him and the better of him on this earth, and create multiples of them on the earth. Now Allah, we ask, oh Allah, all his family members, oh Allah, and all his loved ones and beloved people to also give them the same outcome in the akhirah. And all of us, oh Allah, include us in this dua and make us have the best of the outcomes in the next world. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.